Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is Omilade, your Goddess Guru, here to share a word of inspiration with you on your path to self-realization and self-mastery. Today, what I would like to talk to you about is solstices and equinoxes, and what should we do during this time. The older I get, the more rituals become important to me. And they are becoming increasingly important to me as I seek to create shifts in areas where I need to change, and in areas where perhaps I need to amp up the energy of what I'm doing, to bring something to life, to create more vitality in it. Rituals become more and more important. Rituals also help to create this place of expansiveness and assisting me in moving beyond where I presently am in my consciousness. And so as I see it, rituals are so important. I talk about having daily spiritual practices. We cannot skip out on the daily spiritual practices. Those are like the most important rituals as I see it. And rituals help to keep us just in the flow of life. When the bumps come, when the things come that sort of knock us off our center, it is our rituals that can help us not get knocked off so much, as well as get brought back to our center. And so having rituals at solstices and equinoxes are important as I see it. This is something that I have done for years now, and there's no law that says we should do them, or I don't do them because of anyone telling me I should do them. It's just my own personal way of doing activities and having seasons in my life where I take pause so that I don't get stuck in a rut. I'm looking at what's working, what's not working, and I'm using the energy of the seasons to maximize what is going on. And so solstices happen at summer and winter. We are at the winter solstice of 2016 as I make this video. It's December the 8th, so we have a few days. And typically I take about, from the 1st through about the 21st, leading up to a solstice or an equinox, to do whatever it is that I'm going to do. And then there are the equinoxes at the spring and the fall. And so for me, it's always a time for me to change the way that I eat. So I would like to recommend change the way you eat. Everyone has to make the decision about what changes those will be. But it is always a good idea to eat whole foods. So basically that means farm to fork. Whatever that food looks like when it comes off the plant, we can identify that on our plate. Fresh vegetables, avoiding as many animal products as you can avoid. I am one who feels like there's a season for everything. There may be a season where I may need to eat, a meat or something like that, some fish. And there's a season where perhaps, the majority of the time, maybe we don't. I am a group fitness certified educator, and so I'm learning more and more from the professionals. We don't need a lot of meat. So I'm neither here nor there, but meat creates an acidic environment in our body. And so we just have to make sure that if we're eating meat, that we are doing things to just make sure that we can keep our inner landscape healthy. Especially if it's, maybe we're not quite in a season where we need a whole lot of meat. Okay, so, but during the equinoxes and the solstices, we can probably give up the majority of the meat that we're eating and find other ways to get our protein, which we don't have to have a super huge, humongous amount of protein. And we all have to sort of gauge and figure out how much we need. I heard 1/3 of an ounce for every pound of that you weigh. That was from one nutrition expert. But we can get that through plant-based sources of protein. And typically when we eat a diet that's largely plants, it creates this energetic feel, because that's what the solstice and equinox season, when we're using it in a ritualistic way, that's what it's all about. We're trying to create an energetic shift. We're trying to make something different. We're trying to make our bodies lighter, not necessarily physically, but energetically lighter. And so that comes from attuning ourselves in a number of ways, one of which is through food. And so eating lots of plants, plant-based meals that have vegetables, farm to fork. So when you look at your plate, you know these are vegetables. And sometimes we need to cook. I'm sorry, when it's cold outside, I'm going to eat raw food. I might let it sit out so they can get room temperature. I don't like feeling cold when it's cold outside. I just don't like eating a lot of cold food. So, you know, make some nice little soups and all that kind of stuff with your vegetables. But we, you know, we definitely want to have fruits and vegetables that we, you know, farm to fork. And lots and lots of water. And again, when we are changing what we're doing when it comes to food, it's going to create a shift, especially for those of us who perhaps have emotional eating as a habit. It will help you to move beyond that emotional eating so that you can really get to the source of your emotions. But in general, everyone will feel lighter and more open and receptive to the spiritual messages that come during these heightened energetic times. We for sure want to avoid refined foods of any kind. And the one thing I'll say, one caveat I will give with this is that we don't want to be legalistic. That defeats the purpose of doing this. Even if it feels challenging, it should be something that leaves you more open. Like, you see, I thought I couldn't eat like this, and then I did, and I feel incredible. That's good. You feel challenged, but you're still sticking with it. But if it's like, well, I ended up eating something that is refined, and so I'm a horrible person, I knew I couldn't do it, so I'm just going to throw it all out the window. If you get in a pinch and you need to eat, baby, go on ahead and eat. And then just get right back on track. You know, let's just be relaxed about it. You know, those kinds of things. Let's be serious about our rituals, but let's be relaxed when we feel like, oh, I messed up. It's not that serious, okay? And so we do want to avoid refined food. So one way to do this eating thing is you could just say, I'm not eating any meat. Maybe you make no changes, otherwise you just avoid eating meat. In my opinion, everyone should be drinking lots of water every day. But I mean, every day, you really should. You should drink more. So we should probably drink about half our body weight in water, in ounces of water every day. And during the equinox time, we're going to drink more than that. Not too much, but definitely we're trying to create this cleansing, lightening effect. There have been times when I fasted where I just wasn't vibing, changing much of what I was doing. Maybe I was just busy and I just knew I'm not going to really change. I'm going to eat something with turkey or chicken in it, or maybe I'll have some foods that are somewhat refined, even though, you know, some people, for instance, something like gluten-free pasta seems pretty healthy. For me, it's becoming taboo more and more, but that's something I would not eat during a solstice if I'm really doing the more strict way of eating during the solstice. I would not eat gluten-free pasta because that's not farm to fork, that's processed. But let's say I'm still going to eat my pasta. I might eat it with some organic chicken and, you know, have all my vegetables and stuff because, you know, that's how I eat normally. I'm not going to really go too radical, but I will not eat any refined sugar. So that's another option. And I'd like to tell people, search your spirit about what you are going to do when it comes to changing the way you're going to eat during the solstice. There may be some of you out there who feel like all I can do is just drink a lot of water and maybe add in some herbal teas with no sugar that are detoxifying and cleansing, and that way it's just, you got to do something different, okay? And then there have been times when friends of mine and myself, we've gone even more radical and all we ate was raw foods. It's really up to you how you do this. But during the solstices and the equinoxes, making changes in the way that you eat are very important and beneficial. It also is good to get as much sleep as you can and slow your life down and unplug. And so we want to be off of anything that creates this external awareness that we're having, because what we're trying to do during this time is bring our awareness inside so that we can connect with the inner guidance, the inner story, so that we can connect with the things that we need to change. And so disconnecting with the outer world as much as you can. Don't socialize as much. If you're going to socialize, make it spiritual socializing, where you're talking about the energy of, you know, the spiritual energy that's surrounding you at the time. You're going to hear people talk, do spiritual talks. You're engaging yourself in spiritual social interactions that will actually benefit you during the solstice and equinox time. And you're wanting to decrease social interaction that is just, it's more external. It's not raising the awareness within you. Now, I will say in some of these social interactions that we find ourselves in, it may not seem spiritual, but you may be able to realize something spiritual just happened. I just learned a spiritual lesson. Because sometimes when we embark upon, you know, working with the energy of the solstice and equinox, we find stuff gets heightened. And so maybe I get in an argument with somebody, and that argument seems very unspiritual. But when I come into my spiritual space and I start to analyze it, I begin to realize, wait a minute, that happened totally as a part of this fast, so that I can learn something and grow from it. Maybe it helps me to realize something about myself that created that in the first place, which we are the creator of our reality. So let's see here. Go to bed early, get lots of sleep, and oftentimes we'll find we are dreaming. We're getting messages in our dreams. And so journaling during the solstice and equinox time is important, because sometimes we'll write down things that we got during our spiritual insights during these times. We may even forget about them, and then we come back and read, and it's like, oh, I forgot all about that. And the same is true with dreams. I forgot all about that. And so we want to, you know, write down dreams, spiritual insights that are coming from us, for us, things that we're learning, things that we know we want to work on. And so now I have the vision, and I'm able to move forward in what it is that I feel I am supposed to be working on for the next season, be it a quarter or a year or 5 years, whatever. The other thing you can do during the equinox is you can fast, do mental fasts. So sometimes I don't even touch the food. It's all about the mental. I will say that I feel food absolutely affects the mind. And so anytime we can make some type of body change, some type of physical change, that is going to help with the mind. Oh, during the equinox and solstice times, it sort of depends on the season. So like during spring, I may find myself being way more active, spiritually active. For me, dancing is spiritual, and it's a way that I exercise. And so, during the spring and the summer, I may find I am doing more dancing during my spiritual time. And it may be that I'm dancing to the music of Yemaya, African dance. I may just put on my Zumba music and dance. I don't know. But I may find I'm more energetic that way. You can never really get too much yoga. So no matter the season, yoga is called for. But when it starts cooling down, energetically, because the energy of the earth, the energy of the season in the fall equinox going into the winter, the energy is on the decline. Actually, the energy starts declining from the summer, but you really start feeling it the closer we get to the fall equinox going into the winter. And so we may find that we're a little slowed down. We don't want to do all of that work. And so what we may find is that we're doing more yoga, more gentle, even in the wintertime, weights, light, doing some type of resistance training would be beneficial. But it's always, always, always spiritually beneficial to engage some type of physical activity, and to do so in a spiritual and ritualistic way during the equinox and solstice seasons. Journaling is important, and then going into the mental fast. And so sometimes it's about, I need to fast from a negative thought. So we're being highly aware of what this negative thought or belief is, and working to back up from it during that time. And with the hopes, this is the thing about when we do these kinds of fasts. My father-in-law, who is a Christian pastor, said this one time: folks fasting, but right at the end of the fast, what do? They go back to doing exactly what they're doing. If we're fasting, we should be fasting to not pick back up that thing that we were trying to put down. I said, wow, that's good. And that's the thing. If we're fasting, we don't want to end the fast and just say, oh, well, the fast is over, I can just go back to doing what I'm doing. No, this is to create a shift. It's to create a change in our lives. And so, this mental thing that we're working on, fasting for 21 days from it, that would be good. You could go longer. At the end of it, you want to realize, I really am better off without that way of thinking. Another mental fast might be, I'm choosing to do affirmations daily. And so the more we affirm something and get into these affirmations, then they will, essentially our energy merges with the energy of those words. I am powerful beyond measure. I am powerful beyond measure. And so then our energy starts meshing. Now, it is important during these times to learn how do affirmations really work. Because we can say the words, but if we don't really feel the energy of the words, it might be a waste of time. So one thing I'll mention is you can find affirmations on YouTube and maybe even record the affirmations yourself and then listen to them, especially when you're close to going to sleep. I find that we are so much more receptive. I'm so much more receptive when I listen to something just as I'm drifting off to sleep, and as I go to sleep, my spirit will hear it, and it's way more receptive. You can get yourself programmed even better using sleep. But at the very least, you can put yourself in a meditative trance-like state, put in your earbuds, turn on some affirmations wherever you find them, and you shouldn't even be thinking during that time. And so that's something else that you can do to help create a mental shift in your body. Take mental health breaks, taking time to craft a lifestyle that is going to support your spiritual growth, your development, your success in life, getting you in alignment with your destiny. During the solstice and equinox time, take time to be reflective on your character. Do you have good character? Do you have medium character? Is your character just totally questionable? And what is it that you want to address in your character during that time? Are you not honest? Are you compromising yourself because maybe you feel like you want to be loved and you think this person's going to love you, but you are totally doing something, you know, this is not me. What are the areas in your character that need to be addressed? You can just be reflective in general. Another very important ritual to have during the solstice and equinox is gratitude rituals. Write down, what are you grateful for? Do vows of gratitude. Take time every day to give thanks for what is good in your life. The more we open ourselves up to being grateful, the more we open ourselves up to a greater abundance that lies within us. And then during the equinox and solstice times, it's good to, because I touched on the body, I touched on the mind, and I'm going to touch on the spirit. It's important for you to, you know, have those rituals that feed your spirit. And something that I think is so important is that we need to understand that there's nothing to fix within us. That more than anything, what we want to do is to allow our divine nature to come forth and speak to us in a mighty way. That's really why we're doing the work with the body and the mind, is to move all this stuff out of the way that prevents us from hearing from our divine nature, the spirit of the divine nature in us that is us. And so opening ourselves up to your spiritual practices that will help you to connect with the oneness, the great oneness. Other things you can do is to make sure you get outside and commune with nature. The longer I stay a priestess of Yemonja, which is in the Orisha tradition of the Ifa spiritual tradition, the more I understand why Ifa is based on nature. When all is wrong, if you go outside and you feel the wind and you touch a tree and you look at the plants and the flowers and you go stand near the water, if it's a cold night and someone has built a fire and you stand by that fire burning those logs, it'll shift your spirit. It'll literally create a transformative experience in your consciousness. It will open you up and it will show you the way. So that is one of the greatest things that we can do to celebrate the times. You know, that the earth is changing seasons. It's the one thing that we can count on. I'm living in Tennessee at this point, and it seemed like fall was never going to get here. November started out super warm. Well, no, wait a minute. It was all of November just about. I think it didn't get cool until the end of November, which it always gets cool starting in September, especially in October. It's going to be cool. The leaves are changing and everything. We thought it was never gonna happen, which I like warm weather, but I'm like, I don't like nature not doing what nature does. Nature finally came on, did its thing, and now it's cold. It's such a joyous thing, this earth experience, the changes in the season, and we align and attune ourselves to it and get in harmony with the sun staying out for a long time, or having the darkest night of the year. What is this symbolic of? All of this is a reflection of you, of me. And when we take the time to connect with this energy in some kind of way, in the equinoxes, everything's balanced. Where are you out of balance? How can you get into balance? You know, it is a beautiful thing using these seasons, creating rituals. And they don't have to be the same rituals every year. I do something different all of the time. Okay, so I made a video. No, I wrote something on my website, and I'll put it in the comment section, but I want to mention this to you because I'm here to mention it to you. The importance of setting up altars. And so there's even books on it. I mean, it's just so much. But you are a living, walking shrine. You are the altar. A way that I've often described it is I have an inner altar, and my outer altars reflect what is within. And the way I see altars is they are a portal, a doorway to energy on the non-physical side. And so I encourage you to set up altars out in nature, altars in your home. And as you set these altars up, and you go to these altars during your equinox time, it amplifies the energy. And so I'll put the altar articles, because I don't really want to go into too much, because I don't want the video. The video is always already way longer than what I thought it would be. But you set up your altars and you go to the altar. So you can have an altar for various reasons. Like I have an ancestral altar. It was the first altar I put up when I initiated into the Sacred Feminine Mysteries. I created 2 altars, one for the Great Mother and one for the Ancient Mothers. And now that I'm a priestess of Yemonya, I have a Yemonya altar. But there are special places that energetically I have in my yard. Or outside, in my yard. You can do with these altars what you want. If you get together in community, you can create a community altar, and everyone brings items to that altar. And what the altar does is it is just an energetic space that is amplifying our connection to the energies of the universe, the great divine. And so your way you set your altar up is your business. That could even be a ritual. Like I have my altars all the time, but you could even set up a special equinox or solstice altar. The sky is the limit. Okay, body, mind, spirit. So I will post any other things that come to my mind in the description box. I do appreciate you for taking time to watch this video. I do divination for people throughout the year, but in particular at the new year. If you would like a New Year's reading for whichever year you're watching this video, please just go to the link that I have below that shows you where you can go to my website for whatever readings, for whatever information, and there will be one for readings. And you can pick the New Year's reading. There's instructions on how to request your reading, and I will be more than happy to divine on your behalf to find out, just what energies are you working with so that you can maximize this year. Thank you again so much, and I wish you a great solstice, a great equinox, and just a great day. Peace and blessings of the goddess be upon you.